Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode podcast to talk about our favorite team. And today we're going to be doing something absolutely special. We're going to go ahead and do a behind the enemy lines and talk to somebody that knows the Detroit Lions very, very well. Our week 3 matchup, and I'm absolutely super excited about it. But let me give a huge shout out here to the sponsor of the Arizona Sports Fan here on YouTube. We are powered by BetUS. Right now, if you use promo code YouTube150, they'll provide you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, and the following 2 deposits going to be 125%, and that is going to be up to $2,000. Again, promo code YouTube150 upon signing up. And ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get started. I went ahead and brought my guy in, Dosa Dion. What's up, man? How are you doing today? And how are things going?
Man, I'm great. I'm excited. This was perfect because usually I wait a little bit into the week, but jumping out of that Tampa Bay game, I just want to move on. That was just a disaster. It's just one. I don't really want to talk about the Tampa Bay game a little bit. So let's get on to the Cardinals. But I'm excited, man. It's good to see you again. Fired up to be here.
Absolutely. And that's kind of how I felt about the Buffalo Bills game, too. I think both teams are in a very similar situation where obviously I think you guys have a little bit more, playoff and Super Bowl aspirations where the Cardinals are going to their year 2. But like we've seen a lot of promise from this Arizona Cardinal team. But we got a team in the Detroit Lions in week 3 that I think a lot of Cardinal fans are really excited about because of how good we played the Bills and how much we destroyed the Rams. Let me take it back to the first game for you guys. How did you feel like you guys matched up against the Rams? Because we already played them and we absolutely whipped them. How do you feel like you guys played against the Rams just really briefly?
Yeah, look, first off, I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be a playoff team this year. So I'm buying in. I'm not overlooking that team. And for me, LA Rams, I thought we matched up pretty well offensively. I thought that would be a team that we could run the ball well against. We just weren't sure what the defensive line was going to look like. And then the defensive backs, a little bit unsure, but they had injuries. So offensively, I thought we matched up well. It was the questions about how we were going to play defensively because I know with all their weapons, all the movement they have, what was that going to look like? And I thought we played a lot better this time than last year where we just made them work for everything defensively against this LA Rams offense versus last year where they had tons of chunk plays and it just kind of stuck around because in that game the year before they scored like 3 touchdowns on just monster plays. They didn't have that this year. So I thought we matched up a lot better. And of course they've been just kind of derailed by injuries.
I always found that the fascination with the Rams playing the Lions because of the quarterback switch is so fascinating, that whole storyline that comes along with it. But let's go and dive into Cardinals versus Lions. Right now, if you were going to ask yourself, right now we're currently sitting on a Wednesday. What do you feel like is the best game plan for you guys to go ahead and come up with the win here in State Farm Stadium? Because this is a home game for the Cardinals, our second straight home game. What do you guys think that you guys need to do to come up with the W?
Yeah, well, for us, I mean, first off, it starts on the offensive side because our issue has been seemingly every time we get in a plus territory, we have negatives on early downs, we fall apart, and then we fall into a tough situation. And, you look at the Arizona Cardinals and, when you just look at where they're at depth-wise, their depth chart, just who we're playing in this game, for us, I want to buy into our offensive line's pass protection is going to be a lot better in this one. I thought it was going to be better against Tampa Bay. It wasn't. They gave us a lot of problems there. I expect that to be a lot better against the Arizona Cardinals, but this is similar. Like, we have Kyler Murray, and the big positive is we know that he's going to take off, right? He wants to move, and that's the fear. And when you just see what Baker Mayfield did, it was like, hey, we did a lot of good defensively, but Baker just had a couple of occasions where he just extended plays. It wasn't even about taking off and running. It was just keeping the play alive. And as good as our coverage was initially, something would break loose and get open late on the play. So for me, I think it's actually like a great kind of build up into this game against Arizona. I want to be able to do similar things we did against Tampa Bay, which is, hey, we can lean into this man coverage. But first and foremost, Arizona is going to run the football. And this has been a team that came on last year. James Conner was incredible. And I was blown away. That's why I had so much confidence in you guys going into this year. And now we're seeing it again early this season. So it always starts with us stopping the run, which is something that we kind of pride ourselves on as Lions fans because we've been really good there over the last few years. And we've got off to a really strong start again this year. So it'll be about just kind of slowing down Kyler Murray, breaking and making things happen on 3rd and 9, where you're like, hey, we're in the position to get the ball back, and here he goes. And then on the flip side for our offense, having some kind of success once we get inside the 30-yard line is what I'm focused on.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think I'm also agreeing that the team who's going to run the ball the best is probably going to get the leg up. I see two teams that are like I said, I mean, a little earlier, in a similar situation. Now, you guys have, Super Bowl aspirations, and of course, as a Cardinal fan, I think we're going to hit playoffs as well. And I appreciate you saying that a little earlier in the stream. But I think at the end of the day, this is a tough game for the Cardinals because although we did play the Bills pretty tough and we absolutely just destroyed the Rams, this is going to be one of those games that a lot of Cardinal fans are still kind of, asking themselves the question: can we do it again? Right? Because we look at the Lions and we say, oh, playoff. And it almost kind of seems like a consensus whenever you're looking at the NFC, who's one of the teams that are going to, make it deep into the playoffs. Everybody always points to the Lions. Let me ask you this real quick. What are your, not so much expectations, but I guess expectations. Have your expectations been met so far in week 2? Now, I get a lot of people love to kind of jump on the idea and said, oh my God, panic, right? We're 1-1. What have you seen from this team so far that you like and that you are kind of a little worried about heading into week 3 or just kind of the rest of the season?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, so I'm with you. I came into this year and I tried to set the bar a little bit lower in the sense of I just want to get in. I understand we came off NFC Championship, so it's we got to run it back, got to win the division, got to get the 1 seed. For me, I'm just dude, just get in the playoffs. I don't care what it looks like this season. Obviously, I believe we can win this division, but for me, through 2 weeks, it's been, first off, defensively, I've actually been really impressed. And I think something as Arizona Cardinals fans to keep an eye on is obviously on paper, you can see kind of the new look secondary, but it does start with that run defense. And I think Aaron Glenn has, over the past couple of years at times, for me, I've given him knocks and things like that. But I think what he's had now with kind of the personnel coming together, we know exactly what he wants to do. He wants to play man. He wants to simplify, but he wants to get after teams. So you're going to see all of those things. And to me, through 2 weeks, that's where I've been the most impressed. Because if you told me coming into your, hey, after 2 weeks, you're going to have concerns about the offense or the defense, which one would you rather have? I'd be like, hey, give me concerns about the offense, because the defense, that needs to come along. That's one that we're just going to have questions about. And where it's at right now, I'm very excited, giving up, we gave up 20 points to Tampa Bay and, kind of the same thing to LA Rams there. But just the way that we've played those 2 games, we stopped the run that's been there immediately. DJ Reader comes back. That's been huge. And then the pass defense has just seen massive growth already through 2 weeks. So for me, I'm very optimistic because of where the defense has already shown to go. Offensively, it's just been about hey, can we get back to what we do well? And at the same time, just don't have these dumb mistakes. As cliche as it sounds, it did feel like in a lot of ways we beat ourselves. We had 460 yards, there 216. You lose that football game. That's insane. That should not happen. And you just left points out there. You had dumb mistakes. So for me, I look at it as I think the defense is kind of the point of everything here. Does Kyler Murray take off? Does he kind of take this game over like Tampa Bay did in some crucial moments where he just utilized his legs? Because I got a lot of respect for that offense over there. They have tons of weapons and they have a lot of underrated guys. Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of came to life last week, and it's okay, now they have him going. There's something there. So for me, it's just containing Kyler Murray. As easy as that sounds, it's not going to be that easy on the field, but that's where it's going to start with this team and stopping the run. That way we force them into situations where they're not as comfortable as, hey, James Conner's going for 140 yards against us.
No, that's a good call out here. Honestly, you mentioned the offense here, and you said one thing that you guys do great at, and I'm assuming you're talking about the run, right? Because it almost kind of feels like Dan Campbell moves away from it when you guys are either down or you're trying to haymaker by haymaker. I don't know. Let me pitch you this thing, because I ended up saying this in my preview. Is this something that you've seen from Dan Campbell where you're playing to catch up? Is it true that sometimes you kind of forget about the run, that Jahmyr Gibbs is not that big of a run impactful? Obviously, you can catch the ball out of the backfield, but also like David Montgomery, because one thing I heard last week is the fact that you guys kind of forgot about the run. Is that something that happens with Dan Campbell often?
Yeah, well, I have a different perspective a lot specifically on last week, because I think Tampa Bay, and if you kind of go back to how we've played Tampa Bay over the last season, we played them twice. We had kind of a similar game plan to what we did this week, throwing it 55 times. It looks crazy in the box score. And I think in some ways there's certain things where I'm yeah, I'm with you. For one, I would have liked to open up more inside runs, especially when Vita Vea went out. I understood the game plan coming in, stretch, sweeps. That's when we're going to run. We're going to get everything outside, but we're also going to throw in early downs. And I think that's more of a Tampa Bay thing rather than that's hey, the Lions just kind of, this is who they are. They should be running it more, but they're not. I think that's just Tampa Bay. The Lions seemingly want to kind of just minimize all the craziness that they can cause. I don't know who's rushing on the play because they blitz at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. I think that was more of a Tampa Bay specific thing. I think the Lions still want to lean on the run game. That's just how they're built. built. They want that to be successful. I don't know that they always did it the best way last week, but I think one thing that gets forgotten last week is that even when we were moving the football and we had these good drives and they kind of stall out, a lot of times they stalled out through a run game. It was weird as it is. They stalled out because 1st and 10, we'd have a negative 2-yard run. We'd miss a block on the play. The only thing different I would have liked to see last week is just different run types rather than maybe just simply running the football more. It's early in the season, so there's so many things that you want to break in. Everybody wants to see Laporta more, but then it's like, well, we got to get this guy the ball. Jameson's, it's hard early in the year, right? You just haven't got a good grasp of what's actually going to be there. So I don't believe that it's going to be one of these things where the Lions aren't running the ball enough. I think Arizona will see that this week. The Lions are going to run the heck out of the football. I think you should be expecting to see a ton of that, especially if he finds any success early. I just think that last week was kind of just a weird week because that's just Tampa and that's how we played them over the last few years. And I think that they're just a unique team versus a team like Arizona or really a lot of other teams.
That's fair. Okay. No, thanks for so much for that insight. Let's kind of segue over to the offense here. Let's talk about Jared Goff. He has not had the our best start to the season. I think he's got 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and QBR rating is like somewhere in the 40s. What are your thoughts on Jared Goff? Do you just think it's just the beginning of the season? Don't worry, don't panic, or is there a real concern within the fan base about Jared Goff?
Yeah, I think you know how this goes, man. You get off you have a little bit of a struggle, and all of a sudden it's like, hold up, Hendon Hooker looked pretty good in that preseason. Maybe it's time. And I've seen that stuff, and obviously I'm just like, okay, we just got to calm down. This is crazy. Yes, it has not been the best start to the season, and for me, it's been in weird, like you got to look for, I always try to look for the little things, like the things that I thought were girls. I didn't think week 1 looked that good. And that was specifically just a lot of the things that we saw against the Rams in week 1 wasn't what we're accustomed to as Lions fans. It was like, hey, we know we go to St. things are going to be great. And it was like, okay, St. Brown's just not even involved in the offense. This is weird. Something's off here. But I thought week 2 actually did yield a lot of positives for me in the passing attack, knowing how good that defense is in the back end in Tampa Bay. I thought there was a lot of positives for me to take from it, just because I felt like Goff found a much better rhythm. He had a disastrous pick, which really hurt us when we were moving the ball down the field. The first one I didn't really take much from. I thought it should have been defense pass interference, but it is what it is. You get those things. You anticipate a throw, guy gets knocked off his route, gets picked off. It happens. I'm not going to put that too much on the quarterback there. So I thought last week actually was a lot of positives and steps in the right direction for Goff because of the anticipation. He looked a lot more comfortable, the way that he was using his eyes, but it's still not there all the way yet. But it does feel like the biggest positive is the timing is there. Like Jameson, had a lot of expectations and the timing's there. And now it's just about getting back to what do we do well and being able to have that be as efficient as we've seen over the last 2 seasons. The things that we know as Lions fans, the St. Brown and Laporta and the run game, and just in crucial moments, I just feel like that hasn't come through yet. And that's the weird thing. So you're just like wondering, when is that going to look like what we're all accustomed to? But to me, I'm actually, as weird as it sounds, hey, I might just be, I'm a little bit, biased. That's fair. But I do believe that we've actually seen a lot of positives from Jared Goff over last week and where it's going into. And hopefully that carries over this week, because I think a lot of fans want to see on paper that we're going to have success passing the ball against this Arizona defense a little bit more so than what we had against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and you did mention Jameson Williams. He is actually now coming, former first round pick. So I'm glad he's actually starting to kind of get the share. Big deep threat guy, right? I mean, guy that gets the ball like 40 out 50 yards. Jared Goff can throw the ball deep, and he's a burner.
Yeah, it's different. I'll say that. It's the one thing that, if you know the Lions of the last couple of years, this is different. Jameson Williams is something that we just haven't had. We've had some guys that are fast, but Jameson Williams is different, and we have seen over the first 2 weeks, there is a clear intention to get this guy the football. It's not like he's like kind of easing it, like he's getting the football. He is a massive part of this offense. It's different than what we've seen from the Lions over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I have him on my fantasy team, so I know he's getting a lot of targets. Like, he's getting 6+ targets, 7+ targets a game, and sometimes it isn't there, but like when he gets the ball, man, it's explosive. It's amazing. So I just hope that this isn't the get right game for Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. We know what he is, man. He's a really good wide receiver, and I think he's just taking a little bit to kind of get to the numbers that we're used to seeing from St. Brown. Let me ask you, I guess, just 2024 season expectation. Do you expect to win the division still?
I expect to win the division. I do.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if you wanted me to expand on that. Look, I wasn't sure because I was like, is there a follow up? Are we going like the division and the play? I'll say this. I expect to win the division. I think that this is the best team in the division because I think that Green Bay will take a step back this season. That's my belief. And I think Chicago actually ends up second this year. I'm still going to ride with that. But I just, we've seen a little bit of like ugliness from them too, trying to figure out the rookie quarterback and things like that. So I expect to win the division. If we don't, that's okay. As long as we're in the playoffs, I'm fine with it. But if you ask me, what do I expect? I expect this team to win the division. And I do expect them to make a push for the Super Bowl this year. I don't see any reason why this team can't be saying, hey, we should go win the Super Bowl. Like, why wouldn't that be our goal this season? We have every piece I feel like that we need to get there. Now it's just about getting there.
Okay. Last question for you, my guy. What is going to be your score prediction of this game?
Yeah, man. Man, this is tough. So it's tough with Arizona because I just don't know what I'm going to get. Like, I want to buy into our defense a lot, but Arizona has looked awesome on offense, and I love what I've seen out of them, and they're just loaded with weapons. So I think it'd be crazy to not give Arizona a lot of love and say that they're going to put up some points in this one. So I think this has the makings of a game that could be much higher scoring than what we've seen from a Lions game. I'll give Arizona like 27. Of course, I'm over here. Hey, I hate to do it, but I have to take our team to win this football game. I have to. And for us, I think this is a game where it's like, hey, get right. Like you said, in a lot of ways, offensively, the points start to come together. We stop stalling out in the red zone. That's the goal here. So I would say something like, the spread is really tight right now. I would say something like 30 to 27, 31, 27 is where I see this going. But I think Arizona is going to give us a lot of problems. And I think early in this game, we could see a lot of points from Arizona. So I'd say 30, 27, 31, 27 is kind of where I'm at. But of course, I have the Lions winning.
Exactly. I don't expect anything different. Well, I appreciate you for jumping on. I really do. I think this is a good insight as to who the Lions are, right? Don't panic quite yet. We are all just going into week 3. I know we had our own share of panic in the week 1 with Kyler Murray, but then completely flipped on their ear, and now Kyler Murray is back, right? So, all right, we're going to close up shop. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you guys have not already checked out Dose of Dion, he does exactly what I do, but for the Detroit Lions, does a very good job over there. We will be putting his channel here in the description of the video. So go ahead and show him some love. All right. Appreciate you for joining in as always. Have a great rest of your day and go Cardinals.